Hey everyone, welcome to today's Explainer. Listen, if you've been prepping for the IELTS exam, you already know that writing task 1 can feel, well, a bit like a giant puzzle. But today we are unpacking the absolute ultimate master toolkit to completely demystify it for you. We're going to target and fix those super common score-dropping leaks that catch out B1 plus writers literally all the time. By the end of this session, you'll have a clear, actionable system to seriously boost your score. Let's get into it. Okay, let's dive into our agenda really quick. We're looking at 5 sections today. First, grammar traps to avoid. Second, precision and academic vocabulary. Third, the ideal essay structure. Fourth, high-scoring visual strategies. And finally, 4 essential priority points.
All right, starting right off with Section 1, Grammar Traps to Avoid. Before we actually look at the rule, I really want to test your intuition here. So think about this. When you're looking at data for, say, cars, or people, or money, how do you actually know whether to write the number of or the amount of? It's a classic learner dilemma, right? And the thing is, getting this wrong instantly signals to the examiner that you're kind of struggling with basic noun rules.
Well, here is the foolproof fix. I like to call it the 1, 2, 3 litmus test. It's simple. You use number for things you can count and amount for things you cannot count. So, if you can put a number right in front of the noun, like 1 visitor, 2 visitors, 3 visitors, it's countable. So you absolutely must use the number of. But if it sounds totally absurd, like 1 information, 2 informations, yeah, that's uncountable, and you'd use the amount of. Honestly, keep in mind that almost everything you're going to describe in Task 1, from people to cars to students, it's countable. So make number your default, unless you are talking about genuine uncountables. You know, things like rainfall or pollution.
Okay, so the really crucial point here is what happens right before the word number. Missing the tiny little word the is probably the single most common grammar issue in all of Task 1 writing. Why do we even need it? Well, because the number of cars refers to a very specific group. It's the exact cars defined in your dataset, not just, random cars out in the world. Whenever you point to a defined specific quantity in English, you absolutely have to use the definite article the. No exceptions.
And this brilliantly illustrates where the trap actually snaps shot on a lot of people. Subject-verb agreement. When you join 2 subjects with and, like the chart and the graph, they form a plural subject, right? So your verb must be plural, like illustrate. But here is the trick that catches everyone out. The number of always takes a singular verb, like has increased. The verb is agreeing with the singular word number, not the plural word cars sitting right next to it. So whatever you do not let that plural noun fool you.
Moving right along to Section 2, Precision in Academic Vocabulary.
Okay, I really want to deliver this next rule with absolute authority because it is a massive, massive trap. Never use what as a relative pronoun for who or which. I know some languages use a single word for both what and which, but doing that here leads to direct, score-killing translation errors in English. In English, what is a question word? Or it's used in noun clauses. It is literally never used to link back to a noun. Just don't do it.
Now, let's talk about how we quantify change. Writing something like multiplied nearly twice might technically be grammatically understandable, sure, but it sounds incredibly strange to a native speaker. On the other hand, saying almost doubled, that's natural, that's idiomatic. When you're describing numbers going up and down, literal translations from your native language are often going to fail you. You really need those natural English collocations if you want to score highly in lexical resource.
So to achieve that natural tone we just talked about, I strongly encourage you to memorize this high-frequency vocabulary bank. Start using noun phrases like a sharp rise in or a dramatic decline in. Notice how we're using nouns here rather than awkward verbs, like saying a strong sore sounds incredibly weird. Just stick to these proven, natural noun phrases with articles, and you'll describe your trends perfectly every single time.
All right, zooming out a bit, here's Section 3, the ideal essay structure.
Honestly, you can think of this as your test day cheat code. A standard Task 1 essay absolutely must follow the strict 4-step linear progression. First up, an introduction that simply paraphrases the prompt. Second, your overview. Third, body paragraph 1, which details the first half of the data. And fourth, body paragraph 2, detailing the rest. That's it, and try to keep it between 150 and 180 words. If you write less than 150, you're going to lose marks. But if you write more than 220, there's actually no benefit at all. You're basically just stealing precious time away from task 2.
Now, step 2 is without a doubt your highest stakes moment in the entire essay, the overview sentence. So what is it? It's a clear statement of the main trend or the biggest pattern in the data. And what is it not? It is definitely not a list of small details or numbers. Listen to this very carefully. If you don't include an overview, your task achievement score is automatically capped at a 5.0. It literally does not matter how beautiful your vocabulary or grammar is. The overview is the single highest value sentence you will write.
And as you write that overview, please remember your register. Task 1 is academic writing, right? You need to sound like a researcher who is reporting facts neutrally. So don't say, "We can see that," which feels way too much like a personal conversation. Instead, replace it with the precise, formal phrasing, "It is clear from the chart that." Never use a first-person voice, and I can't stress this enough, never ever give your own personal opinion on why the data changed. Just stick to the facts.
That brings us to Section 4, High-Scoring Visual Strategies.
Now, what's really interesting here is how you can solve the multi-chart problem. A lot of times, IELTS will throw 2 visuals at you instead of 1. An excellent answer actually notices the relationship between them. Like, are they showing cause and effect, contrast, maybe a macro-global view versus a micro-local view? If you can explicitly state the link between those 2 visuals right in your overview sentence, you are absolutely going to lift your task achievement score. But as you're analyzing those visuals, you've got to beware of the bars trap. You have to remember that the examiner reading your essay will not have the chart right in front of them. So if you write a sentence about the blue bar rising sharply, it means absolutely nothing to them. Blue bar? What does that even represent? Never describe the colors. Always, always describe the actual data that those colors represent.
And finally, Section 5, 4 essential priority points.
Look, if you remember nothing else from this entire explainer, please remember these 4 priority points. Master checklist time. 1. Always write an overview so you avoid that brutal 5.0 score cap. 2. Never give personal opinions, just stick to the academic facts. 3. Always remember the definite article and write the number of followed by a plural noun. And 4. Never ever use what as a relative pronoun. These are genuinely the absolute highest frequency leaks for B1 plus writers. If you just fix these 4 things, your band score is going to immediately benefit.
So there you have it. You are now fully equipped with the Master Toolkit for Task 1. The rules are clear, the structures are totally set, and you know exactly what traps to step over. So I want to leave you with this final thought. On your next exam, are you going to fall into the trap of just describing the colors on a page? Or will you actually use this toolkit to tell the true, compelling academic story of the data? The choice, and ultimately the score, is entirely in your hands. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.